Members of the public are advised the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream and video recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We would like to pay respect to the elders both past and present and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians present. We've got Councillor Karen Egan, who's going to read out the Good Governance Pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. As councillors, we are mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and environment of Nillumbik, now and in the future. We undertake, therefore, to make sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen Egan. Next, I'd like to introduce Reverend Dr. Tim Johnson. He's a Senior Minister with St John's Anglican Church in Diamond Creek. Tim has been serving in this role since 2013. St John's Anglican Church are an intergenerational group of people who meet together at 9:30 and 6 p.m. each Sunday at Main Street, Diamond Creek. St John's has been a part of the Diamond Creek community over 150 years. There's about 400 to 500 parishioners. They've got a lot more parishioners online now than what they did before the COVID restrictions. But thanks for your work and thanks for supporting your congregation and our ratepayers as well. Tim, we're much in the same business. You probably don't collect as many rates as we do, but thanks for the ongoing work.
Loving God, we pray for these, our Nillumbik Shire councillors who've been entrusted with responsibility for our local communities and who wrestle with limited resources and numerous demands. Give them the qualities that they need to serve faithfully. Grant them wisdom, insight, patience, dedication, integrity, creativity and humility, that they may each be equipped to honour the trust placed in them. Bless them, we pray, as they serve us, and help us to support and encourage them in the work that they do on our behalf. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. There are no apologies tonight. We're all here. Just a couple of presentations. If we can just speak firstly to Edward or Ted Briley, AM. I was deeply saddened to hear of the passing on Christmas Eve of a distinguished member of the Nillumbik community, Edward or Ted Briley, AM. Ted was a significant contributor to international, national and Victorian education. He was a past president of Victorian Association of State Secondary Principals, a past president of the Australian Secondary Principals Association, and a past executive secretary of the International Confederation of Principals. The commitment to excellence in teaching and learning saw him awarded a member of the Order of Australia Honour in 2006 for service to education, particularly through professional organisations and contributions to promote effective leadership in secondary schools. Among his areas of focus was working to promote leadership opportunities for females, both among staff and students. All who knew Ted would have been very well aware of his dry sense of humour and a gift for direct, earthy vernacular. Both qualities were great sources of wisdom, as well as entertainment to those around him. Ted joined the Diamond Valley Railway Incorporation in April 2010, and after 9 years as their honorary secretary, he was described as the most dedicated member in its 60-year history. His achievements on behalf of the Diamond Valley Railway include 10 years of progressive planning for the railway, membership surveys, negotiating a new 21-year lease with council, producing a monthly newsletter called the Diamond Creek Rails, and that's a publication widely recognised as being unmatched anywhere in the railway community of railway enthusiasts. He introduced child safety standards and tireless work on their Yarra Landing project. In honour of Ted's contribution to the Diamond Valley Railway, their office will be officially named the Ted Briley Memorial Office, and Ted will be greatly missed by all who knew him. through his various professional and community involvements. On behalf of the Nillumbik Shire Council, I offer my deepest condolences to Ted's family, friends and his colleagues at the Diamond Valley Railway. I've just got a bit of a report also on the Nillumbik Australia Day Awards, which were held yesterday. So yesterday we had another incredibly successful day, Australia Day Awards and Citizenship Ceremony at the Eltham Community and Reception Centre. Thanks to an Australia Day Council grant, we held a COVID-safe event with limited numbers, and it was live streamed for anyone to watch at home. We are really pleased to have worked with Wurundjeri Elders and the Nillumbik Reconciliation Group in preparing for this event. A message was provided by Wurundjeri Elder Julianne Axford, and President of the Nillumbik Reconciliation Group, Jan Aitken, delivered a speech. Another event highlight was a flag-raising ceremony in which the Aboriginal flag and the Australian flag were raised in unison. Reflect, Respect, Celebrate, we're all part of the story, was this year's theme, and I'm pleased to say that the event lived up to this sentiment. 5 awards were presented, and a brief rundown of each is as follows. Citizen of the Year. Over a decade of service to the local community was recognised when Josh Allen was named Nillumbik's 2021 Citizen of the Year. Through his work with CFA and as a member of the Diamond Creek Fire Brigade, Josh has been involved in the response and recovery from significant events, including the 2009 Black Saturday bushfires and the Christmas Day flash floods of 2011. A member of the Rotary Club of Diamond Creek, Josh's work in the community has been notable for both the energy and enthusiasm that he brings, along with his ability to collaborate with local groups and services, and these have included the Men's Shed, Diamond Valley Lions and Diamond Creek Traders Association. He was instrumental in securing the W-Class tram, which now occupies such a prominent place in the new Diamond Creek Regional Play Space and operates as a community cafe. The Volunteer of the Year, Peter Talbot is Nillumbik's Volunteer of the Year, an active member of community and volunteers of Eltham, CAVE, it's known as. He's done that for 20 years. He has also been Liaison Officer for Eltham High School and Eltham Lions Club President. Over this time, he has been tireless despite his own health setbacks and challenges in driving fundraising efforts for various important community causes. We had a Senior Citizen of the Year award. Jan Aitken is the Senior Citizen of the Year. Jan has been integral for the development and success of the Nillumbik Reconciliation Group. For 13 years as President, she has worked to connect communities through passion, warmth and a commitment to reconciliation. Over the years, numerous other community organisations, including schools as well as individuals, have also benefited from Jan's dedication to giving. The Young Citizen of the Year. The Nillumbik Young Citizen of the Year of this year is Finn Deasy, who over the past years balanced the completion of his Year 12 studies with his commitment to volunteering for a variety of community organisations. These include the Eltham CFA, Nillumbik's Freezer Group, Nillumbik Unplugged and Eltham Life 3095. Community Group of the Year. The Rotary Club of Diamond Creek was named the Nillumbik Community Group of the Year. Despite all the challenges in 2020, the club managed to push ahead with a range of initiatives and projects to help those in need of support. These included the Second Bite project. That was a project that provided food to the disadvantaged, as well as a range of arts and education initiatives. The award recipients and their achievements, and those of others nominated, underline the strong legacy of community service in Nillumbik. The award recipients highlight the strength of commitment to helping others that exist in our community. While their ages and backgrounds may be diverse, this unwavering commitment to bettering the lives of those around them is a thread that draws them together. It is also a reflection of an attitude amongst the broader Nillumbik community. Council's Australia Day ceremony celebrations were not just about the enormous contributions made by our community members. The citizenship ceremony was also incredibly important, a very proud moment for 12 people taking the pledge to become Australian citizens. We wish our new citizens the very best for a happy, healthy and prosperous future, and we look forward to the contributions that I'm sure they will make to the community. Guest speaker at yesterday's event was Syrian refugee Rima Touma, who spoke movingly of her experiences and of her work since arriving in Australia in 2016 to help others experiencing trauma. She also spoke of how warmly she had been welcomed into the Nillumbik community during her life or during her time here. Finally, events like this take a lot of people to make it happen, and I'd like to thank all those at Council involved in making our Australia Day celebrations such a significant and successful event. The next item on the agenda is the confirmation of minutes. So I'll look for a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes of the last meeting, 15th of December 2020. Councillor Ramcharan,
I'm happy to move that the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday the 15th of December 2020 be confirmed.
thanks Councillor Ramcharan. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All for? Against? It's carried. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Any councillors have a conflict of interest they wish to disclose? Appears not. There were no petitions. Questions from the gallery. We have three questions in total from two different people. The first question is from Alexander Colum of Diamond Creek. And his question is, since the introduction of the new bin system with additional options last year, can council please advise the take-up, in brackets the number of households, of each of the new options on offer? Example, upsize 240 litre green bin, 80 litre landfill bin, etc. Thanks for your question, Alex. The response is that there was an overwhelming uptake of the 240 litre organics waste bin. That's the green one. The percentage uptake for the organics bin is about 39%, and the actual number was an increase of 8,473 bins. For the other bins, there were 2.6%, or 57 households, upgraded to the 140 litre garbage bin. That's the red one. And much fewer, only 0.2%, or 557 households, that doesn't seem to make sense, subscribed to the 120 litre weekly garbage collection service. I think the percentages might be around, yeah, the percentages are written around the wrong way here. So the 557 households that got the new 120 litre weekly garbage bin, that would be 2.6%, and the previous one would have been 0.2%, which is the 57 that went to the 140 litre garbage bin. We can provide this in writing, Alex, as well, if that's helpful. And the final one was a smaller garbage bin, so downgrading to the 80 litre garbage bin. There were 559 households that downgraded to the 80 litre garbage bin, and that represented 2.6% again. Hope that answers that question. The second questions, two questions came from Bill Lord of Wattle Glen. Question one, on the council website, the VCAT appeals register appears to be woefully out of date, and he's provided the link. Now that we have a new council, can this register be kept up to date with each new VCAT appeal? Thanks, Bill, for bringing this to council's attention. We can confirm that this was a technical issue, and the link has now been updated to reflect the current VCAT appeals register. The behind-the-scenes process has been modified to ensure this doesn't happen again. Bill's second question is, will council reinstitute the practice of council prior to 4 years ago, where officers would provide a written report for each monthly council meeting, registering the current Nillumbik Council VCAT hearings, and at the same time reporting on any significant VCAT decisions from that month? So, Bill, council's planning appeals and VCAT web page has now been updated, and will include the monthly decisions determined by VCAT, as well as an electronic copy of the accompanying VCAT order. Excuse me. This will enable the community to stay updated with current VCAT outcomes with ready access to the VCAT orders. Subject to a decision of council, council intends to include this report and information at a future monthly delegated committee meeting, noting that there'll be 14 days delay in reporting due to the process in preparing reports for council. So, in short, Bill, the answer is the website will give you the information, and we will be providing that information as well at a delegated committee meeting. Not likely to be called the Future Nillumbik Committee meeting, more likely to perhaps be called the Planning and Community Consultation meeting. And the intent is to have a planning report in that meeting that provides as up-to-date information as possible, but noting just because of the reporting cycle of getting stuff to a formal council meeting, it might be 2 weeks out of date. but the intent certainly is to bring that information to future council meetings. So that's all the questions from the gallery, and we're on to agenda item number 11. That's reports of advisory committees, and I'll look for a mover. Councillor Egan.
I'll move, as per the papers, the recommendation that council notes the minutes of the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on the 19th of August 2020, the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee meeting held 31st of August 2020, the Health and Wellbeing Advisory Committee meeting held on 9th of September 2020, and the EcoDev Advisory Committee meeting held on the 17th of December 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Duffy. Councillor Egan.
I only wish to say there's one meeting in there, the EcoDev one, which was with the current councillors. The previous three were with the previous council. Some really good work, especially the one I was at in the last arts one. A whole lot of new pieces of art. Hopefully we'll have things, so we have got things on the wall today, which is a change because everything's been bare. Most of our artwork is still locked away, but hopefully things will start to change a bit and the offices will fill up with all of our wonderful artwork on a rotation basis, Corinne, I hope. So that'll be really lovely to see. Everything else is in the report, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Councillor Duffy, have you said anything?
Yes, even though I wasn't at the some of these meetings that took place before the new councillors were elected, what I'd just like to say is that, you know, in attending the Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting in December, and then also the other committee meetings that I joined, there was a Positive Ageing Committee, Arts and Culture, the Health and Wellbeing Advisory, and the Environment and Sustainability Committee. What I saw was just a passionate dedication from our local community members of varying different expertise being able to give back in ways that made me really proud. And as a council, I'd like to see us ensure we recognise these people. And one of the things that I'd like to do tonight is just acknowledge Gillian Essex, who was a departing member on the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. She's done a great job in that, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know other people that have areas of expertise that they're willing to share with the council through the committees that we have an opportunity to be part of. So, you know, it was really just a shout out to say thank you to our community members who do volunteer their time to be part of these advisory groups. We're listening and value what they say.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Agenda item number 12, reports of special committees. There were none. 13 is into officer reports. Audit and Risk Committee meeting of December 2020. We've got a recommendation there. Is someone prepared to move the motion? Councillor Payne.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion as written that Council notes the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee being held on the 14th of December 2020.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
That was Councillor Egan. Do you have any wish to speak?
Yes, I want to thank all my colleagues for giving me the opportunity to move this motion. Don't know how to thank you, but I'm sure I'll find a way. This is all part of the ongoing good governance and risk management and controls that the Council find important. So I commend the moving of this motion and the minutes.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan.
No, I concur, and it's why you have to be on time.
Any other councillor? We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next officer report is the December quarter financial report. Looking for a mover, Councillor Stockman.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion that Council receives and notes the financial report for the period ended 31st of December as per the papers.
Thanks, Councillor Stockman. Seconder? Sorry, I'll just say that again. Looking for a seconder, and we've got Councillor Ramcharan. Councillor Stockman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, that's fine.
Councillor Ramcharan? Any councillor wishing to speak to the motion? We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Next report, the mid-year financial review 2020 to 2021. Looking for a mover. Councillor Egan.
Mayor, I'll move a recommendation that Council approves the changes detailed in the mid-year financial review, and 2, notes the revised forecast of 27.771 million operating surplus for the financial year 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duffy. Back to you, Councillor Egan.
I don't need to say much really, except that the changes in this as opposed to what was proposed or mooted last year, obviously COVID's had a huge impact, the details of which are all in the papers. I think I'd also like to congratulate Vince and all his team, because they've had a lot to juggle and a lot to manage, and a lot of pennies to count, or cents to count, I'm showing my age, to make sure that we are solvent. So a great job. It's not an easy job, and a lot of staff get thanked, but not often you, Vince, so well done.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Councillor Duffy, you wish to speak?
Yes, I won't say very much, but I'd just like to say that I've been, as a new councillor, gaining confidence in understanding the role that the officers have in informing us of the work that they're doing, so that we can make good decisions. And the workshops that we've had over the last few weeks have given me great confidence in the work that Vince is doing, and I'd just like to say thank you again. So it's a lot of money to juggle, and we want to make sure we're spending it well and it's being reported properly. So, Vince has said that this is an update. It's not a material change. It's just some changes to the way we operate, and so it's put out in a really clear way for us to understand. So thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next officer report relates to 265 Chapel Lane, Doreen. And I'll look for a...
I know I'm
motion.
hogging the limelight, but I'll be quiet after this. I'd like to move the recommendation as per the papers, except for point 4. In the second line, there's a new word in the dictionary called definification, which I'd like to replace with defamation. Well, in my papers, it's definiation.
Yeah, change it to definition, not defamation.
Oh, definition. Oh, we could do that too.
And a seconder, Councillor Ramcharan. Back to you, Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. Most of the public realise that this has been an incredibly difficult, time-consuming for staff, very emotional issue out in my ward. It's been going on for a while, but we've now probably got the best result that we could have if we'd actually got to VCAT, and the chances of that, I wouldn't say are highly unlikely, but it was risky. So this is actually the best outcome we could have had. I won't go through all the details because it would take me quite a long time, but initially between April and July in 2019, ESG and Council had meetings whereby they exchanged information. Ultimately, the Council advised ESG by email that a planning permit was not required. Now, what I want to say about that was that it was based on the information provided by ESG to staff at the time. Staff made the right call based on the decision, based on the information that they were provided with by ESG. So there's been a lot of criticism levelled against staff for making the wrong decision, but at the time and legally that was the case. when they actually started doing the filling and things got distinctly out of hand, then we were able to, go ahead with enforcement action because it wasn't it didn't align with what they said they were going to do. It's all quite complicated, and it would take me more than 3 minutes to go through it, or 5 minutes. Ultimately, we've got a result which should be make everybody happy, except perhaps the landowner and ESG. But I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Rosa and the team for the huge amount of work that they've actually put into this, way beyond the call, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day sometimes. A lot of it during COVID, which made it even more difficult. They've received a huge amount of flack from a lot of people that, to be honest, had other agendas, which was totally unwarranted, and they've achieved the best possible outcome, as I said. So thank you all. The proposed planning scheme amendment that we're going to do on the amount of landfill being able to be brought in the future will ensure that this situation can never be repeated again in Nillumbik. So something that we should... there's only one other council, I think, that has the same planning scheme amendment. I think it's also mooted to be in the strategic review for agriculture, but it should have been there in the beginning. So a really good result. Congratulations to everybody. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Councillor Imshirain.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, look, it's a shame that we can't give any details about what's in the terms of settlement. There is a good reason for that. We don't want to jeopardise the outcome, and I hope that the terms of settlement will become public once VCAT's made a ruling, but for now we do need to keep that confidential. We don't particularly like keeping things confidential, but I guess that's just the way things are in local government. I think I agree with Karen that the outcome we've got is really the best we could have hoped for. I think, especially given the history of this and the likelihood of succeeding at VCAT, which was, not extremely likely. I think it's what we've actually been able to settle just through discussions with the SG is really the best outcome we could have hoped for. So this is a really significant step. We're not saying it's okay. We're saying it's not okay to dump in Nillumbik. We're saying it's not okay to be in breach of the planning scheme and to damage the local environment. And we're saying that we won't turn a blind eye to that. So it's really pleasing to have this outcome. I think down the track we need to look into investigating how we can amend the planning scheme to make it much clearer about what is and what isn't allowed, and hopefully that will eliminate issues like this in the future. But yeah, this is a really good outcome, and really pleased to be passing this motion today.
Thanks, Councillor Imshirain. Any other councillor wishing to speak on the matter? If not, I think probably dot point 7. A lot of people would like to know what the settlement is, and although we can't talk to actually what the settlement is at this stage because it's still a legal matter, but there will be a VCAT order at some stage. But I'll probably draw your attention to dot point 7, which talks about what happened at the compulsory conference that was held on the 9th of November. And that was between ESG, the landowners, Melbourne Water and the council. And just reading from the report, the outcome of the compulsory conference was that the parties agreed to further explore settlement with the mooted terms as follows. The VCAT making an enforcement order by consent, which specifies that the filling activity was in breach of the planning scheme and requires ESG and the landowners to remediate the land to the satisfaction of council and Melbourne Water. Furthermore, the terms would provide mutual releases from any liability arising out of the matter, including any action by ESG and the landowners against the council in relation to its prior representations that a permit was not required, and that these matters to be formalised in terms of settlement for consideration by council at a future council meeting. So dot point 7 gives good guidance, I would say, without breaching any confidentiality arrangements at the moment. So we'll put, if there's no other discussion on the item, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And against? It's carried. Thanks, councillors. The next item is the councillor code of conduct and looking for a mover. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I would like to move that, that council by a formal resolution passed by at least 2/3 of the total number of councillors elected to the council, adopt the councillor code of conduct attached to this report to be effective immediately once minor grammatical errors are corrected.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Ramcharan. Back to you, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. There's a couple of things that really stand out for me, and in becoming a councillor, I take this really seriously, and I know that my colleagues do too. This councillor conduct has some great pieces of responsibility and obligations involved for us, and I'd just like to point out 3 parts. Firstly, that, you know, as a collective, we will take all reasonable steps to eliminate all forms of discrimination at council. We'll support council to fulfil its obligations to achieve and promote gender equality. And, you know, with this council, we've got a good mix. We've got 4 men and 3 women. So that's a good balance. You know, who knows what might happen in the future? We might have 4 women and 3 men. The other point that I'd like to pull out is particularly about bullying, vilification and victimisation. I think this is really important about the way we behave as a council group. And I'd just like to read out what it says here. Council is committed to maintaining a workplace that is free from bullying, vilification and victimisation, where all people are treated with dignity and respect. In performing their role, so our role as councillors, we must take positive action to eliminate victimisation in accordance with the Equal Opportunity Act of 2010. We will uphold council's obligations to support a safe workplace and will not engage in repeated unreasonable behaviour towards another councillor or member of the council staff that creates a risk to the health and safety of that other councillor or member of council staff. We will take all reasonable steps to eliminate bullying, vilification and victimisation at council, which I interpret as the way we behave with our public as well, you know, treating our public with respect in the way that we engage with them as councillors. The final point is just that as councillors we undertake that occupational health and safety is a shared responsibility. So these are the 3 key areas for me, and you know, it's great that we've been able to sign off and agree to a code of conduct to the way that we're going to work together.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Ramcharan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just noting, 2 councils ago we actually did have 4 women, which was fantastic. I think Nillumbik does well on the gender equality front, and it'll be good to see that continuing down the track. Look, the code of conduct we've got here is quite standard. Most of it is based on existing legislation, but I think it's a really good, strong, positive guideline and something that I'd be pleased to sign and I'd be pleased to be bound by. And we can amend this at any time if we want to. So if anything comes up in the future and we feel like we want to change the code of conduct to cover more areas, then that's something we're completely able to do. Just in terms of the grammatical errors, there was some inconsistent use throughout the document between the words I and we, and there was a point where the document said the words we am instead of we are. So these issues will be fixed before the document's finalised, but we won't have to go to another vote on that because they're just minor changes. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ramcharan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. Just want to acknowledge I agree with words from Councillor Duffy and Councillor Ramcharan. For me, it's about keeping us honest and working constructively together as a group of 7 councillors, and that's really important to keep us on track and supporting the community through our roles as councillors. And if we can't work together, we can't support the community, and so that's why it's important to me as a whole, in addition to other points raised as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillor? Yeah, look, you know, the gender equality or the balance of council has been, quite good in my time. I've been on council 10 years. It tends to be 3 one way, 4 another. But I'd probably acknowledge Councillor Coleman, who is currently she's not a councillor anymore, but the longest serving councillor that Nillumbik has had in terms of having done 12 years. So I acknowledge Councillor Coleman's presence here tonight. She was part of the council before the last council. Note that I've done 11 years on council, and with 3 to go. I might pip her at the post in the next year or two, but we've got to get through that first and behave myself in accordance with the councillor code of conduct. So I hope to do that. If there's no other discussion, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next item is the tender report. Got it right. The Eltham North Reserve synthetic pitch replacement. Looking for a mover. Yep. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I think this is a special one. I'm very happy to move this motion. We recommend that Council firstly accepts the preferred tender for the sum of $569,496.30, including 20% for construction contingency exclusive of GST for the following contract. Number 2021-45, the title being the Eltham North Reserve Synthetic Pitch Replacement. Yahoo, saying all of those soccer players. The term of which is from 1 February to the 29th of March 2021. Secondly, that this motion authorises the Director of Operations and Infrastructure to finalise and execute the contract documentation.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Do we have a seconder? Oh,
A few other points
you're still
here.
going.
Sorry,
Oh.
turn the page over. That authorises the Director of Operations and Infrastructure to approve additional cost variations that are a result of unknown latent site conditions or changes to operational requirements throughout the term of the contract, with a value of no more than 15% of the updated total contract value, excluding the fee for the 10-year maintenance period. Some other points. Point 4 notes that the variations that exceeds the agreed total contract value will require a further council resolution. Advises all tenderers accordingly. And the exciting bit is makes public the decision regarding this contract, but the tender evaluation report and the sustainability and recycling report will remain confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in the relevant section of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Looking for a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Councillor Egan, back to you, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. This is very exciting for me. Soccer is something important in our family. And when I went to uni, would you believe it, I was the university goalkeeper for the women's team. I don't play soccer anymore. I just watch and applaud. So, and that's where I'd like to applaud Redbacks today. You know, as a club in our shire, Redbacks Football Club is one of the largest football clubs in Victoria. It's one of the major sporting clubs in Nillumbik. You know, this club has children as young as 3 and, you know, players that are well into their senior years. So it's really a club for families, and it's great for enabling people to come together as a community and not just play sport and be healthy, but to meet people and make friends. And that's what our family has done in being involved in Redbacks. We've made friends, my children have made friends, and as adults we've made friends, and that has gone past our involvement in the club as well. So with COVID being, you know, the really difficult time that it was, many of the sports champions around our shire, kids and adults, weren't able to play the games that they wanted to. And whilst it would have been fabulous timing for us to be able to afford to do a synthetic pitch replacement last year when COVID was in play and games were not happening, we didn't have the money to do that. We've been very lucky to be able to have funds come up to enable us to do this now. So to all the volunteers at Redbacks, thank you for what you do, and we hope that this helps you in knowing that this is an improvement to the game that you're able to play in a safe way. And there will be possibly a little slight interruption to the beginning of your playing season, but we will do as much as we can to make sure that this happens as fast as possible. So I'd just like to thank the councillors in our team for considering the importance of this tender in its award, in looking at the limited budget that we've got and where we're putting our money.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Egan?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm totally supportive of this. I think the mental health issues that many of our youth are facing post-COVID are huge, and this will go a long way with a certain demographic in alleviating that. I know some councillors weren't happy with the timing, but sometimes stuff happens and we just have to deal with it, whether it's our preferred method or not. The total budget for this project is $660,000, and the Eltham North Pitch Sink Fund, which they've been contributing to for how many years, Natalie?
I think it's about 10 years.
10 years, that comes to $385,000, and we've got a grant from the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure grant, which is $275,000. So that is the total budget. That's about all I want to say, except it'll be really exciting to see this get off the ground as, I think, the first project for this council in terms of a big numbers. So well done to Yelma and Heath and the team for getting through all the issues that we've had in the background with this one. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Ramcharan.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is part of a much bigger funding scheme from the federal government, and I look forward to discussing what the rest of the money will spent on. Hopefully we'll be having those discussions in the next few weeks. Ideally, I would have liked to wait before passing this motion so we could decide exactly how to spend the grant money. I feel like this is being rushed through a little bit, but if we were to delay this motion, then we could throw off the entire football season for the Redbacks. So unfortunately, it's not an option to put it off. In an ideal world, we'd put it off 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but we do have to pass this today. And that's why I'm going to support this motion. In terms of the tenderer, most of that is confidential, but looking at their environmental credentials, I think is very impressive. Most of the materials they use are recycled, and they have very good initiatives to recycle the existing pitch once it's been removed. One issue is that there's a chance that the sand from the pitch could go to the greyhound racing industry, which I don't think is a good outcome because that's an inherently cruel industry. So we're having discussions at the moment about whether we can repurpose that sand for local horse riding clubs instead, which I think would be a much better outcome, especially in terms of closing the loop and using those materials locally rather than sending them off somewhere else.
Thanks, Councillor Ramcharan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. I just want to just add just a tiny bit. Everyone else has said things that I want to say, but really to say that if we do hold off on this, that the game will be delayed, and given the year we've had last year, I think that will be detrimental to mental health and health and fitness and things like that, and also getting together and meeting friends and just participating actually out of the house. So that's why I'd be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Duffy, you've spoken, so no. Any other unless you get the right to reply if somebody speaks against the motion. No other councillor wishing to speak to the motion? We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next report is a tender report, a contract to award the tender for the Diamond Valley Library upgrade works. Looking for a motion. Councillor Stockman.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to accept the recommendation that Council has put forward as per the papers.
Thanks, Councillor Stockman. Just from governance, do you mind amending that first line to accept the preferred tender for the tendered sum amount? So the suggestion is to include amount. If you're happy to amend your motion.
Yes. Yep. So.
Thanks, Councillor Stockman. Yep.
Sure.
So just put in that word. It's all good. Oh, right. Okay, we're going to put a number in there. Yeah, it's a number, Richard.
Okay.
I was told, yeah. Oh,
1095414.
yep. Yeah, the sum of, okay, there we go. Looking for a seconder.
I'll second the motion and just add that that was $1,095,414,
That's right.
just to clarify.
Yep. Councillor Stockman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mayor, I'm fine.
Councillor Egan?
Yes, I will. I'm still on the board of the Yarra Plenty Regional Library, and this has taken, we've had all sorts of issues with this. We had a particular sum organised initially for the upgrade. That was all agreed to by council. Once they actually started taking the place apart and having a look at it, they found some significant issues with the, there's a massive sort of glass ceiling thing in there. So there were two big problems, and if we did them post the renovations, they would have cost double. So we had to increase the amount, which is why it became a little bit harder. So I think the upgrades to the library, some of them not limited to, there's an increased children's zone. There's also a really good new co-working space for startups and micro businesses, which I think post-COVID will be really, really important. Upgraded amenities and a new parents' lounge are another couple, but also they've got this fantastic garden makerspace there. So there's going to be a brand new deck there, and it'll be a lot bigger and more visible connection to that space. A lot of people don't realise that we have a library right next door until you come on council and you discover that it exists. So for those who don't know about it, I'm talking out there in Zoomland, go and have a look, because Eltham Library is pretty spectacular, but the one next door, especially after the renovation, will be just as, not quite as good, but getting quite up there. So a really great asset for the people that live this side of town. So I'm totally supporting of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I've had the privilege of becoming a member of the board of the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Service, and you know, the last meeting that I attended was really exciting. We looked at the new library that's going to be, the new library that's available in Ivanhoe. And so, you know, libraries are not just a place where you go and read books. Libraries are a community hub. They serve so many different people, and there are so many different functions that can happen. And so, you know, seeing the new library that is happening at Ivanhoe is really exciting. And to come on in this new space and to be able to be involved with a whole new library, it's very exciting. So, you know, it makes it easy for me. You haven't done this hard slog that you've been doing, Karen, with this. But you know, we've seen how important libraries are during COVID. People not being able to go to spaces like that. One of the other things that I'd like to see, and we'll talk with the board more about, is how in this rebuild we look at acknowledging the Wurundjeri and the role that that story can be told in the, not so much the architecture, but in the how we have this new building evolve. So that's a story, and it's not necessarily in a book, but it can be an interpretation when we use this space, whether it's inside the physical library or whether it's outside in the environment as well. So, you know, it's a really exciting project for our community. And I'm glad we're going ahead with it.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillor wishing to speak? We'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? All in favour? None against? And against? It's carried. Move on to the next item. The Quarterly Risk and Safety Report, September 2020. Looking for a motion. Got Councillor Payne.
Right. Yes. Well, in that case... Yes, I'd like to move the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. As per the papers?
As per the papers.
Fantastic. Councillor Eyre, would you like to second it?
Yes, I would like to second it. Thank you.
Back to you, Councillor Payne.
Yes, look, I don't want to take up too much more time of the council and everyone here, but you don't need to put the 5-minute timer on for me to say I think this is very important, that we should accept it for the work that they do. And yes, as per written, this is part of the normal governance of this council and something we should all support. I'm out.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre? And any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Amcharan?
Just briefly, it's a shame that the report is staying confidential, but I just wanted to say it really is a fantastic report, and just thank officers for producing it and putting so much work into it. It was a really good read, and I learned a lot. So, yeah, thank you to the finance team.
Thanks, Councillor Amcharan. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Duffy?
I hope I haven't muddled myself in getting confused here, but I'm remembering Jeremy Livingston, the Executive Manager for Business Transformation and Performance, who's responsible for leading this team, saying that this report is setting benchmarks amongst local council. And I just would like that to be acknowledged, because it's great to know that Nillumbik is doing good things, not just for our community, but doing good things for other councils to be able to look at adopting some of the same processes that we're undertaking. Am I right? So Jeremy, I'm hoping I'm not embarrassing
Councillor
you.
Duffy, there's no opportunity to ask officers.
Sorry, okay, didn't mean to ask a question. I just wanted to make sure, was I accurate in what I was saying?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that'd be fine.
thank you, I am. Great. I've been a bit muddled today, but thank you. I wanted to make sure that that was acknowledged.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? Look, Councillor Duffy, you were right, and it was this report was put in front of the Audit and Risk Committee, and members on that, independent members of that Audit and Risk Committee sit on other Audit and Risk Committees for other councils. You know, not all councils, but their comments were it's a very good template, and it's a very good way to produce reports. It was clear, concise, and they could understand it easily. So they congratulated Vince, actually, on the presentation of the report. I think it was. Oh, Jeremy, of course. Yep. So we'll put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next item is a review of Council's road management plan. I'm looking for a motion. I've got Councillor Amcharan.
I would like to move that Council publishes a public notice of its intention to review its road management plan, inviting submissions to be heard at the next available future Nillumbik committee meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Amcharan. And a seconder?
I'll second that, Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Stockman. Councillor Amcharan.
I'm really looking forward to the outcome from this consultation. It's a really good chance to hear what the community wants from our road network. This plan is responsible for maintaining our roads, and in particular keeping them safe and making sure that we meet our requirements under road safety. I think there needs to be a discussion about which roads we seal and how we make the decision about whether to seal a road. And I'm also looking forward to investigating a strategy to mitigate dust on unsealed roads, which I think would have a lot of benefits for communities who currently struggle with dust. And it would also be good for us to investigate better roadside slashing and maintenance of gutters to ensure that drainage is up to scratch. So yeah, looking forward to the outcome from this consultation, hearing what the community has to say, and developing the road management plan down the track.
Thanks, Councillor Amcharan. Councillor Stockman, you wish to speak? No. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd just like to point out to the community that this doesn't just cover roads. It's or unsealed roads, but it's all related infrastructure, including signs and guardrails, line marking signs, curb channel and guardrail. But it also includes footpath and designated shared trails, of which we have quite a lot and are destined for more. It also covers vegetation interfering with the said road, footpath and shared trail. So I don't know about Ben so far, but half of my emails would be over road issues, potholes, grading, dust, trees down, etc. So it gives the rural people especially a really good chance to have a say in how often they think a particular dirt road needs to be graded, or sealing things, as Councillor Ramcharan suggests. We've got a lot of issues out there, and I don't know whether the scope can be broadened or not to cover some of the speed limit issues, because that's probably the second biggest group of phone calls I get, in the fact that many of these rural roads, the speed limits, because they're unmarked, first of all they're 100, and secondly the ones that are marked are racetracks. So I know that's a little bit out of the scope of this, but it'd be good to put something in the consultation that would give us the feedback on that, even if it's not included in this, so that we can send that and then liaise with Vic Roads on reducing some of the speed limits, especially out in the rural area. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Egan. Any other councillor wishing to speak? No, we'll put that. Oh, Councillor Duffy.
I know sometimes I speak too much, so I can understand that you were hesitant there, Peter. Mayor Perkins. One of the things that is becoming very apparent to me in coming to council is that things are divided into different spots. So when I'm thinking of roads, I'm thinking of the roads, I'm thinking of, the nature strip in the middle and, the whole experience. So I was really keen to think of what are we doing with the nature that's in the middle of our median strips? What are we doing with our roundabouts, and how much we enjoy the vegetation that's in place in those? So that doesn't come under this road management plan. That is in another part of what we do with council. So it would just be wanting to make sure that as a council, we make sure that that's an important part of the commuting, travelling experience for us as well. So, yeah. So even for the smaller roads and lanes that council is responsible for, the renewal, the upgrade, the replacement, that's one part of it. But just to make sure that the community understands that there is another time that we'll be looking at the service levels that we put into the greening of the spaces that are around our roads as well, which I'm glad we have.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other councillor wishing to speak? We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. The next item is the informal meetings of councillors' records up until the 27th of January 2021. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that Council, in accordance with item 19 of Council's Governance Rule, Meeting Procedure, receives the information meetings of councillors' records held on the 7th of December 2020, 10th of December 2020, 11th of December 2020, 15th of December 2020, 16th of December 2020 and the 17th of December 2020 as contained in attachment 1.
Thanks, Councillor Eyre. And we're looking for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Thanks, Jeff. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. Really what this is saying is that we need to record where councillors have been. So it's a meeting at which matters are considered that are intended or likely to be subject of a council decision or the exercise of delegated authority. So it's important that these are recorded in case decisions later come up, so that we've got a record. But really, I also just want to say that thank you to all the volunteers and on these committees and the officers that support these committees. It shows what's happening around the Shire and the council participation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne. Don't wish to speak. Any other councillor wishing to speak on this item? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. And the last item, I think. No, it's not. Hang on. No, it's not. Not at all. One of the last items is the CEO Employment Matters Committee appointment of chair. Looking for a mover. Councillor Ramcharan.
I'd like to move as per the papers.
Thanks, Councillor Amturan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eyre. No, you missed out, Councillor Payne, not fast enough. Councillor Amturan.
Look, Alan has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. We met with Alan a couple of weeks ago, and I'm satisfied that we've thoroughly considered the decision to hire him. He's a good candidate for the position, and I look forward to working with him.
Thanks, Councillor Amturan. Councillor Eyre, you wish to speak?
Only to say that yes, we did meet with him via Zoom, I think it was, or was it MS Teams? And we asked numerous questions. He was able to answer them all competently, and his experience in the local government sector spans many, many years. So he will be good for Nillumbik Shire Council. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillor? We'll put that to the vote then. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. And agenda item 14, notices of motion. We have a notice of motion. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, may I seek leave from the council to amend my notice of motion to the motion that is on the screen, and I'll leave that with councillors to determine. So do I need to read out my original motion? No.
Yeah, I believe it's just you're seeking leave just to amend the motion from what it originally was to this one. So that's the motion that you're putting. It's just a motion seeking leave to make a couple of changes to that which was put in the agenda papers. So you're moving that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Payne. Do we have any discussion on whether or not we're happy to seek or to grant leave to Councillor Duffy? No? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those in favour?
Sorry. I thought I was still on leave.
No. Against? It's carried. So thanks, Councillor Duffy. You can now move your motion, which is slightly different from the one that was in the agenda papers.
Thank you. And the wording has been changed. I suppose the words, it still means the same. The intent is still the same. The words maybe just are a little clearer. So the motion is that council recognises that the War Memorial Building Complex at 903 to 907 Main Road, Eltham, is historically, aesthetically and socially significant to the Nillumbik Shire Council. That we acknowledge that as a council, that council acknowledges the community's desire for inclusion of the Eltham War Memorial Complex in the Victorian Heritage Register, and that council adds this site to the other sites designated for inclusion in the proposed Heritage Overlay Planning Scheme Amendment for the entire Shire. The statutory planning scheme amendment process includes a 6 weeks exhibition period where community members have the opportunity to make submission.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Payne. Back to you, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. I've just prepared a few words. In presenting this matter to council tonight, I pose 2 questions. Firstly, what makes a place special? And secondly, is it important to protect special places? 24 years ago, back in 1997, that's the year I actually moved to Melbourne, the strategic document, the Nillumbik 2020, A Preferred Future, was commissioned and published by Nillumbik Shire Council to provide a vision for the municipality, I always get that word mixed up, sorry, you know what I'm saying, based on the views and desired outcomes of the community. 2 of the key aims of the people of Nillumbik at that time expressed in this document are conserving the natural environment, historical buildings and sites while allowing for progress and development of the area, and secondly, retain natural and cultural heritage. So now let's fast forward 14 years later. We're moving from 1997 to September 2011. In September of 2011, so that's 10 years ago, Nillumbik Shire Council adopted the Nillumbik Heritage Strategy, a document which states a vision that the Shire of Nillumbik's cultural heritage will be conserved, enjoyed and appreciated by present and future residents and visitors. The Nillumbik Heritage Strategy also states its aim to be to identify, document and care for heritage places in the Nillumbik Shire in ways which fulfil legal obligations and adopt best practice, to involve communities and to promote awareness, knowledge and enjoyment of heritage places. So here we are. We have the answer to the second question. Yes, in Nillumbik it is important to protect special places. In August of 2011, in the Cultural Heritage Significance Assessment by Samantha Westbrook, it was clear that the Eltham War Memorial Complex at this address is historically, aesthetically and socially significant to Nillumbik Shire Council. The Eltham War Memorial Complex of buildings is one of these places Council has known is special but inexplicably has chosen not yet to protect. So why is it that the story of what makes this place special not largely told? Tonight I'm not going to go into the history. I don't want to give you a history lesson. Instead, I simply want to acknowledge that there are people in our community who know why this place is special and they're trying to be heard. And I acknowledge that some of you are in the audience here tonight. I commend these people on their effort to educate and raise awareness within the community and the authorities empowered to act. They want us to know why this place is so special, so we can appreciate the architectural significance of these modernist buildings that are still intact after 70 years. We can appreciate the unique story of the collaboration of a remarkable group, largely of women, who created this place. Louise Officer, Vera and Stanley Addison, Ada Lyon, and the architects, including Jessica McFarlane, who was one of the first female architects to become a partner in a firm in our state. Baby healthcare officials, and other people, but most importantly, the volunteers and donors. This was community effort. It was fundraised by the community. It was a community vision. So the final point here is what makes this place special that I'm learning about is so that the story can be told, that we can appreciate what it was intended to be and what it is and what it can continue to be. A living war memorial to serve generations of local children in remembrance of the 11 local men who lost their lives overseas in the conflict of World War II. There's much common community interest in 2018 in protecting this site from redevelopment so it can continue to operate as conceived. This is when I first started learning more of the history of this place and the stories of attachment many in our community have to it. It's a dispassionate process determining whether a place becomes significantly historically listed. So I'm trying to take the passion out of this because there are criteria that this building will need to meet in order to be listed in the state register. But these three modest buildings dating back to the 1950s, which were conceived as a complex of buildings to serve the mothers and children of a growing outer suburban post-war Melbourne as a preschool, maternal health centre and children's library, and as a war memorial, were built with community pride, and it's with that same community pride that we should protect at the highest level. If that so happens, if the Heritage Council determine this place worthy of Victorian Heritage Register listing, we should be proud, and if they don't, now in 2021, I think it's time for us as a council to prioritise the protection of this place with the local heritage overlay and to tell the story of why this place is so special. And I'd just like to acknowledge historian Andrew Lemon, the Eltham Historical Society President Jim Connor, and Kate Russell, and Lindsay Pinotto. I maybe have mispronounced Lindsay's surname.
You're out of time, Councillor Duffy.
For their expertise and effort.
Thank you. The second to wish to speak, Councillor Payne.
Yes, please. I won't make this too long. I think you've mentioned some of the key people that have been behind this particular move. I note that they're in the chamber tonight, Kate and Andrew and Jim, and passionate submitters that have put this work in to preserve these buildings. They're not glamorous buildings. They were built at a time when Eltham was living within its means, and they were built as a war memorial and a living memorial, and council is focused on the future. That's what we are here to do, and sometimes that job is to preserve the past. So whatever the Victorian Heritage Heritage decides about these buildings, I just think it's important that as council we recognise they are important to us and to the community, and that's what this motion's all about. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. I've received emails from constituents or community members in Swipers Gully, including Andrew Lemon. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to read something from, is that all right if I read something from your email? That's great. So the buildings date back to 1950s. They were conceived as a complex of buildings to serve the mothers and children of a growing outer suburban part of post-war Melbourne, and also as a unique war memorial to 11 local men who had lost their lives overseas in a long conflict of World War II. They constitute a memorial built largely through the initiative and work of public-spirited women, a memorial that was imagined as enduring. And I just think those words are really powerful and strong, and it just shows the commitment to building something here in Eltham for us to remember those 11 local men as well. I think this is a really important thing to be getting behind. So thank you for all the work that you do, and I acknowledge that. Thank you. And I'd like to talk more with you about it as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Ramcharan.
Just briefly, I'm really excited for us to be passing this. The memorial clearly means a lot to the community, and today Council's listening to what the community said, because the community's been calling for heritage protection on this site for years, and finally we're doing it. So that's really exciting. I am crossing my fingers that Heritage Victoria will make the decision to include the site in the Victorian Heritage Register, but unfortunately from the reports we've seen so far, that looks unlikely. So what we're doing today is the next best thing. It's going to be a long process from here, but afterwards the memorial will be protected, and that's a really significant step. So I support the motion.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? Look, I'll just add a couple of my comments in. And since, as long as I've been on council, I've been aware of the heritage study that was, I think it was Samantha Westbrook, that looked at the heritage values of the war memorial buildings, and back then a heritage overlay was recommended. It wasn't done. It needs to be done. It should have been done earlier. And I certainly support Councillor Duffy's moves to include it onto the long list of areas across the Shire that are significant enough to be given a heritage overlay, and we certainly support the community's desire for the Victorian Heritage Register for this to be on the Victorian Heritage Register. Just looking at some old briefing material, I'm not sure how many other buildings we have in Nillumbik on the Victorian Heritage Register. I certainly know that Montserrat is. I'm not sure if there are any others. There were quite a few, which is good, but certainly in terms of the heritage overlay, there's 267 places protected by the heritage overlays. Just reading from a previous report here, some areas of the Shire are well represented by the heritage overlay, such as Eltham. If a person was to study all the heritage places in Eltham, they would develop a clear picture of how Eltham began, how it grew, what styles of building characterises it, who its important citizens were, and what life was like at almost any time in the past. Other areas and stories of the Shire are not yet well represented and require identification and research. And that was back from a briefing early in 2017, where work was starting to be done on a more wholesome look at the heritage overlays across the Shire. So dot point 3 that Councillor Duffy refers to is actually a number was allocated to it, whether it will still be C104. That was a process that had started, but I don't think we sought the ministerial permissions to start the amendment, but back then it was called C104, and it was looking at applying a number of heritage overlays right across the Shire. Certainly, the Alpha Memorial Building wasn't on that list, and what Councillor Duffy's motion does tonight will add it to that list, and I think that's quite appropriate, as is the rest of the motion. Dot point 1 speaks for itself. That is really just backing up the heritage study that we've commissioned, and that's what the reports say consistently. So yeah, very happy to support the motion and thank Councillor Duffy for a large amount of work that this has taken to actually get this in a form that ticks as many of the boxes as it possibly can. So I thank you for your work in this area. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. That, I think, is the meeting. There are no delegates' reports, no supplementary and urgent business. There are no confidential reports. So thank everyone for attending and have a good night, and I'll close the meeting.